Welcome back, guys. As the new year has started, I have some good and some bad news for you. The good news is there's all kinds of good content in the world. Comics, video games. But the bad news is majority of the time they're gonna get an adaptation. I should say a live Hollywood adaptation. And that's what this video is about today. The live adaptation for The Last of Us. I'm talking about nomination and winner of Game of the Year. So now let me ask you this question. Will the live adaptation actually be good? We have plenty of examples of source material that does extremely well, but suddenly when they want to do an adaptation, it's just garbage. Now the release date for this adaptation is on January 15th. That's right around the corner. So let's talk about what they need to do to make this show good and if it will be good. And before we jump into it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more content. Really appreciate it. Let's get started. Now then, as I mentioned before, The Last of Us is a nomination and winner of Game of the Year. Specifically Part 2, but it doesn't matter, it's still the same series. So back in 2020, when The Last of Us did win Game of the Year, it was going against all kinds of juggernauts. Animal Crossing, Ghost of Tsushima, I mean Final Fantasy Remake? These are all games that could have easily got Game of the Year, however, it was The Last of Us. So this is not some scrubby game we're talking about. This is the big boy. Speaking of this series being a hit, they decided to remake Part 1 before it's even been more than 10 years. Matter of fact, it was almost exactly 10 years to remake this game. So for quite some time, Naughty Dog decided to throw Crash away and Ellie was everything. For those who want a little bit of backstory of the game, Part 1 is about a zombie apocalypse. Throughout approximately 99.9% of the game, you play as Joel. Just like the rest of the world, Joel unfortunately gets trapped inside the zombie apocalypse. And to avoid this apocalypse going on, you simply just don't get bitten. If you get bit, you are a zombie. That's it. That is literally every zombie apocalypse game in the world. However, the interesting part about this series is that there's more than just zombies that are after you. As you can assume, zombies don't mind getting some fresh meat off your bones. The sad part is humans don't either. In this world, you do your best to survive against zombies and people. But along the way, you end up running a moving daycare with this girl named Ellie. So I'm going to assume if you are still listening, you do not care about spoilers. But last chance here, 3, 2, 1, alright, you're too late, let's go. Ellie is immune. Ellie has actually gotten bit by a zombie before, however, did not change. So of course, you're trying to find a way to stop the zombie apocalypse, and she might be the key to stopping it. So without ruining much more of the story for you, that's the premise of the series. Now this HBO Max series is only on Part 1, not Part 2. And if Part 2 is the piece that was Game of the Year, then what is about Part 1 that they absolutely love? It could be just because it's Part 1 and you have to do that first before Part 2, but even so, why do it at all? But now that you know the backstory of the game, as well as the new series coming out on HBO Max, the question now becomes, what do they need to do to make this successful? Alrighty, let's get into the meat and potatoes. We're making stew over here, boy. Myself, nor probably you listening to this video, is probably not a Hollywood director, meaning I have no type of credibility or anything whatsoever to say something is going to work or it will not. Instead, I am in the peanut gallery with the guys, so all the Metacritic stuff going on, I'm in there too. And the truth is, we just see it if it's good or not, if it's a good adaptation or true to the source material. So of course, things such as the production and the visuals and audio, we can't really judge that until we see it. However, since this is an adaptation, the two things we can judge as of today is the story and the characters. And to start off with the latter, you have to make these characters slap. There are plenty of characters inside the show that are just side characters, but they play some type of role, such as Tess and Sarah. But no matter if you're a side character or not, nobody is more important than Joel and Ellie. Therefore, who is ever playing Joel and Ellie inside the show needs to be similar to those characters. But, I mean, I hate to point out physical appearances because that doesn't make you a good or bad actor. However, the actor you get should be somewhat similar to the actual character in the source material. Now, we all know that Bella is a proven actor from Game of Thrones. She's done that, and that's fine. But nonetheless, Bella does not look like Ellie. Now, even if we jump over and look at the actor for Joel, he's been in some big things too. Patagonia, Narcos, Game of Thrones. You don't say. But again, just because the actual actors don't look like the characters in the show doesn't mean that they're going to be bad. But I want you to make me forget that you don't look like them, because a true adaptation is what the people want to see. I mean, it does have the same exact title as the games. But one other thing that we can be much more harsh about is the story. Now, when it comes to the story, it's a no holds bar. You either get it right or you get it wrong. Here's a good analogy for you. I'm sure many of you know that you have trash day that comes around probably once a week, and you really don't care who's driving the truck to come get your trash. It could be somebody homeless or someone in a suit and tie. You may judge them by what they wear, however, as long as they get the trash, it really doesn't matter. Now, what does matter is that the job is getting done. That's why I'm saying the person that comes by and picks up the trash is just an actor. However, the act of getting that trash delivered is the story. And if that trash is not delivered, then you failed. Now back to what I need to see in the story, everything needs to be here. I'm not asking for the left behind extra part, which we could see in an extra episode. But what we are saying is that story needs to be there, at least 1-to-1. You can give us more content, but what we better see better be there to a T. As mentioned before, you do have a lot of people versus people. All those occurrences better be in this show. But the harder part to capture is the zombie part. Some of the regular zombies you'll see in the show, such as runners and clickers, I'm not too worried about. However, the bigger problem comes from zombies like the bloaters. Early in the series, you see a bloater or two throwing around gas. So if that's not portrayed very well in the series, then HBO Max, we're gonna have an issue. Now again, this is a big boy game, therefore characters lose their lives and go through traumatic events, so we better capture that in the show. Alas, the show is not out yet, and until January 15th, I'm not gonna start hating. But I will tell you this, when that show finishes, I might come back. And I really sure do hope that we're all a smiling Ellie and not a sad one. But tell me what you think about the series The Last of Us, as well as let me know what you're expecting from the HBO series. I am not the one to point fingers. However, we all know that there's been plenty of shows that have tried this and, well, failed. So hey, The Last of Us, don't let it be you. Alright guys, you have a good one. Take care, see you in the next one. Peace.